All right, if you want to be a good pickleball player, there's lots of things that you have to do well. You've got to be a good mover, you've got to understand strategy well, you've got to have composure when you're under pressure. But you know what's also really important is to understand technique, to have solid technique so that when you're hitting the ball, when you're trying to perform under pressure, you're using your body and your paddle in a way that allows you to do what you want with the ball. So why don't we take a little break here to talk technique. When you're up at the net looking to play volleys, it's important that you use the appropriate grip. There's a couple different grips that we could use when playing our volleys. The first grip, and perhaps the most versatile grip, is when you use a continental grip. That is when the V of your hand, that is between your thumb and your index finger, is right on the flat part of the paddle here, right on the top of the paddle. It's almost like you're holding a hammer. And the nice thing about using the continental grip is that you can use the same grip whether you're playing forehand or backhand volleys. Now this is a relatively strong grip to use when playing these forehand and backhand volleys. And in many cases when you play volleys, you do want to hit the ball with a little bit of an arc. The ball comes to me and it's down low, I need to be able to play that ball with a little bit of an arc. And this continental grip, which naturally opens the paddle face, makes it easier to do this. But there's another grip that you can use when playing volleys, and that's known as the Eastern Forehand grip. You find the Eastern Forehand grip by putting your hand slightly behind the handle of the paddle. See, my hand is slightly behind the handle here. And this is a useful grip because this is a pretty strong hitting position to be in. You'll also notice that the paddle face becomes a little more neutral. With a continental grip, the paddle face opens naturally. And so here, this is a more neutral paddle face. And this can be a very useful grip when you're playing forehand volleys that you want to be able to hit hard. Because with your hand in this stronger hitting position, it's much easier to do that. There's another reason why the Eastern Forehand grip is useful when playing forehand volleys. And that is the ability to keep the ball low and maybe even hit with topspin. You'll notice how the paddle face is a little more neutral than it was with the continental grip. With the Eastern Forehand grip and this more neutral paddle face, it makes it much easier for me to hit straight through the ball, which will be great at keeping the ball low when I get a ball that's net high or above. I can hit straight through. It's also useful for playing topspin. Topspin is created by brushing up the back of the ball. Now, having a neutral paddle face would be great, because if I had an open paddle face, I can't really brush up the back of the ball. But with this neutral paddle face, I can now brush up the back and create that topspin on my forehand volley. But there's a downside to using the Eastern Forehand grip when playing volleys. While it might be great on the forehand side, it becomes a limitation on the backhand for two reasons. You can see now my hand is in front of the paddle. This is a very weak hitting position to be in. If the ball comes fast, it's going to be a fairly weak position from which to receive that ball. The other reason that this is problematic is that now the paddle face is very open. And if the ball comes at me and I have this open paddle face, especially if I hit with too much speed, the ball can pop up and then it can be attacked by my opponents. So how do I overcome this? One option is just to turn my wrist and hand to try to close the paddle face. Now this is still a very weak position. Many people will find hitting the ball like this to be uncomfortable. There's one other way to compensate. If you really like using the Eastern Forehand grip, then when it comes to your backhand side, continue to use that grip, but use your non-dominant hand to provide more support. It'll make it a little easier to close the paddle face by using your non-dominant hand, and your non-dominant hand will provide more stability when the ball comes at it. So even though the dominant hand is still in a forehand grip position, the non-dominant hand can help it out. It looks like this. And those are the different grips you might use when playing volleys.